Well, hi, and welcome back to the drama of the Christmas story. In the previous episode, we looked at the background or the story in the Old Testament part of the Bible. In this second episode, we'll see the drama unfold. And I'm going to divide this into scenes. So let's start with scene 1. It's the big choice. The big choice as recorded in Luke 1, 26 through 38. Enter a Jewish girl. Her name is Miriam. We know her as Mary. She's young. She's just a teenager. She lives in a small, kind of out-of-the-way town called Nazareth, far from sophisticated places like Rome or Athens or even Jerusalem. She's a very admirable young girl, morally pure, a sincere believer in the true God, living a life which all who know her agree is just as it should be. Though she's from the noble line of King David, for many generations her family have been ordinary working-class people. She's betrothed, or we could say engaged, to a man significantly older than she is. Joseph is perhaps 10, maybe even 15 years her senior, and that's not an uncommon thing in that culture. The marriage is to take place in the near future. She's excited, planning and working for the big day when she can be with the man she's growing to love and begin her life as an adult woman, wife, and mother. But in the middle of all this, as Mary's going about her business, everything is turned upside down. And it happens when she's alone. The messenger of God, an angel named Gabriel, suddenly appears to her. And personally, I think this happens in winter during the festival of lights that is today known as Hanukkah. Maybe that's why we celebrate Christmas in that time. It's not the birth so much as the incarnation. Hanukkah is the festival of lights that the Jews celebrate. In the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 46, Jesus says, "I have come as light into the world, so that everyone who believes in me will not remain in darkness." And if that's when it happened, that would make the time of Jesus' birth nearly 9 months later during Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Atonement, exactly what he came to accomplish. Anyway, all that aside, whether it's right or wrong, Mary is understandably terrified when the angel visits her. Some versions use the words perplexed or troubled. That's nonsense. She was startled, deeply afraid, confused, and for a moment almost undone by the experience. Gabriel then tells her things that would ruin everything she's been working for. He tells her that she's highly favored, that is, chosen by God for a special place in his plan of redemption. She is to bear a child, an unusual child, a unique child, the child of all the prophecies. The implication is that this pregnancy is actually going to happen immediately. Now, what does that do to all of her cherished plans? So Mary, asks a very natural, practical question. How can this be? Joseph and I aren't married yet. These things don't happen by themselves. There has to be a father. The angel's answer, this birth is to be a one-of-a-kind event, and God will do a miracle in your womb. The Holy Spirit will supernaturally conceive God's Son in you. Now comes that moment of choice. Though God's plan has been set from the foundation of the world, and though God has no doubt about the outcome, still Mary has a very real choice before her. She can choose, yes, I will allow my plans to be put aside and the course of my life to be suddenly and completely changed to suit God's purposes. Or she can choose, no, find someone else. I don't want my life ruined by this intrusion of God into my business. Luke simply records Mary's choice as, "Behold the handmaiden of the Lord." In other words, I am at God's disposal, because the bottom line is, I am his servant. Gabriel goes back to God with Mary's answer, and she soon finds the growing signs of pregnancy in her body. All right, let's move on to scene 2, which I call, oops, what about poor Joseph? Matthew 1, 18 through 25 records this scene. Maybe this is a man's perspective, but the part that has always especially bothered me about this drama is, what about Joseph? Did God forget to tell him? It's obvious that a certain amount of time goes by during which Joseph is out of the loop. Either Mary had to summon the courage eventually to tell him that she's pregnant herself, Or Mary's relatives found out that she's pregnant and broke the news to him. Or maybe enough time went by that he clearly saw for himself. It doesn't seem that he has heard anything about angels or supernatural pregnancies. All he knows is that his fiancée is pregnant and that he had nothing to do with it. Joseph is clearly heartbroken. He probably asks himself, how could I have misunderstood Mary? She seemed so trustworthy, so honest, so pure. How could I be so wrong about her? Yet he couldn't bring himself to invoke the provision in the law of Moses to have her stoned to death for adultery. To Joseph, that just didn't seem right in this case. So what should he do? He finally decides to put her away quietly. That means annul the engagement, not make a big deal out of the whole thing, and just walk away. At this point, an angel does intervene to tell Joseph in a dream that God is doing something special. The child has been supernaturally conceived by God, and Joseph is to go ahead and fulfill the marriage contract. He is to act as the child's father by naming him Yeshua. We say Jesus. Yeshua is a name that means God himself will save us. So Joseph marries a girl, obviously pregnant. He does so in a small town where everybody's always in everybody else's business. There are actually hints in the Gospels that the wagging tongues of the village gossips follow them the rest of their lives. For instance, in John 8:48, the Pharisees say to Jesus, "Aren't we right in saying that you're a Samaritan?" In other words, we're not sure about your birth. It seems a little fishy. Later Jewish literature seems to refer to Mary's unusual pregnancy when it labels her as an immoral woman. I won't say the word it uses. What an amazing step of faith and obedience by Joseph, though. He marries this young woman whose pregnancy is suspicious. Everyone either pities him as a dupe or laughs at him behind his back as a fool. Poor Joseph. Things look pretty dark, but this is not the end of the story. The story continues to unfold in the next episode. So until then, this is Dr. Michael Bogart.